welcome to the Fragrance Nut. Hey, today we're going to talk about one that I wanted, shall I say, wore 21 years ago, 24 years ago. That is none other than a house that I became familiar with. Actually was in New York before I found it in London, but it started in the UK. But I became familiar because of a salesman introduced me to Clive Christian. And at that time, they did not make a tester. So anybody that purchased it knew exactly what they were getting because they was familiar with it in the UK. And it was after a divorce that I decided that it was all I could afford, and it was touted as the world's most expensive fragrance at that time. And it was something like, I bought all three. No1, X in 1872. It came with, it doesn't look like what it comes in now. It came in a crystal Baccarat bottle with a crown with jewels on it. Now you'll find it, you can still find that, but it'll cost you. But you can get the gold bottle, and I believe 1872 comes in a green, and then I believe the black is the number X. And I purchased all three at that time. So it was over 24 years ago, because these came out in 2001. And it was actually, wasn't even in the spray. They did have a spray, but it was more in the oil. And it was pure perfume. It would be the first time I'd ever heard of a fragrance being pure perfume for men, even though these that I'm going to talk about, they had women and men, but they really cross one another. They both are floral, very floral. Very expensive, did I say that? Very expensive. Anyway, so where I got these, I was able to grab some 5 ml size. And these are the two we're going to talk about. And this is Clive Christian's No1 for men. And we're going to get into Clive Christian female No1. They both have the same color, and if you notice, the colors and juice doesn't seem any different. The smell has definitely been reformulated as I would remember it. It doesn't seem nearly as potent as it was 21 years ago. It's familiar, but man, I really would like to get my hand on the vintage. And I would say, before we get into this, when you find something that you really like, sometimes you may have to buy a backup bottle, because I can tell you it doesn't take very long, either popularity or the scarcity in the ingredients, and then next thing you know, it's done. So I wished I had grabbed a backup bottle. Anyway, so let's talk about the male first. In the top of it, it's not a lot of fruits as it is in the female. It's a little more fruity. And this one here, though, it's got some nutmeg. I believe both does that. Now the base is where it really, in the mid is where it really gets real similar. But in here it has some lime, and it has some nutmeg, and it has some mandarin orange. Now I do pick up on that orange. And then in the mid, it's got some iris in it. So both are powdery florals. This is supposedly woody, but I would say the female is the same. It's true too. The only difference is in the fruits. So you got some jasmine, you got lily of the valley, you got some lang-a-lang, and I believe there's even some rose in this. And then as it dry down, it gets into the sandalwood. It's got some amber, some musk, some tonka bean. To me, as I would remember this, it was a very beautiful scent. On my way back home, a lady on the airplane said, "Oh man, you smell so good." Well, as I wanted to look at it and say it was $1,825. That's all I could afford to buy after that divorce. Anyway, and then I was back in home in Detroit, and I'd taken a young lady out to lunch, and in the mall, in the Somerset Mall in Troy, if you're ever out there, it's a wonderful mall. And I'm out there, and I take the young lady for lunch, and there's a lady followed me all the way through the mall and into the PF Chang restaurant, and that's what I was wearing. And I told her number 1 by Clive Christian. And so really wished I had grabbed a backup bottle, because this is so faint as it would have been. Maybe, I don't think that they give me a bad batch. I don't think so. I got this from Sense Angel. You can see that, how they're spelling that. And then with angel.com. One thing I do want to say, see these caps? It's like breaking the Fort Knox. So once you put it on, hell, Sense Angel, please. You almost break the bottle just trying to get the cap off. Okay, so now we're gonna get into the female. And these to me, you can really wear. I mean, they're a beautiful scent. You can wear either one, so you can skip over the part about it, male or female. That's beside the point. Either you love it or you don't. Plain and simple. Your chemistry, even your age, as we age, our chemistry changes. And so sometimes what you smelled like a year ago, you won't smell like today, even though it may be sometimes it could be your chemistry too, as well as it being reformulated. We don't know. But let's get into this one. In here, here's where I was telling you there's more fruits. So it's got some apricot, it's got some peach, it's got some plum, it's got some pineapple, maybe even some bergamot too in there. So that's where you can call this more of a fruity floral, as opposed to the men's side, which is more of a floral, woody. I think it might be a crepe. But in there, and so in the similarity though is when it gets into the heart of the fragrance, and that's where it's got some iris, some ylang-ylang, some jasmine. Minus, this here has some orchid and some carnation is in here. And then we go back to the base where we go similar again, where it's got the sandalwood, the vanilla, but there is a little different too. It has benzoin, and I don't believe the men has benzoin in that. Would have been nice to throw in some frankincense there. Are you listening, Clive? And then but they both are powdery. They have, like I said, the scent profile is pretty much the same except for the fruits. And they both are very nice. My wife, my current wife of 16 years now, she had never experienced the Clive Christian, and she really liked the number 1. In another video, I'm going to also review a Bird Off. Bird Off is the fragrance. It's slated to female, and it's by Roja Dove, and so everyone know good Bird Off would be New York, Bird Off Goodman. So I'll be doing that. But anyway, to sum this up, I still like it. I do plan on buying a full bottle of Blonde Amber before that changes, because that really excited me too. I'm gonna try to find a vintage bottle of number 1 and grab it, no matter the price, just because of it'll take me back to those good old days of when I first fell in love with Clive Christian. And if you guys ever seen Clive Christian's furniture, I don't like to say to die for, because I want to live while I have it, you know what I mean? But to die for, the furniture is off the chain. So that's it. I'm sure you probably had some favorites of Clive Christian. Could be Hedonistic, could be Town and Country, it might Marsakita X, 1872. I believe they have something, Goodbye Kiss or something, I think. And they even have some new ones I'm gonna get my nose on that just dropped this year. So anyway, what's your favorite Clive Christian, if any? Do you think it's too expensive and you wouldn't dare? But I still say these are for me. They were blind buy in the beginning because there was no testers at that time. They didn't no samples or nothing. You either knew what you were getting or you didn't, and so you just had to do it. I did it. I was not disappointed, and so I still look for that. But if you feel it's too expensive, at least sample it, get your nose on, tell me what you think. Anyway, like, share, subscribe. See you in another video. And always remember, keep smelling good.